Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to Papagei English, and this is our seventh session. In this session, we're going to talk about table completion questions, and in the second part of our today's session, we're going to talk about summary completion questions. Now, let's start our today's session. Okay, table completion questions are another form of gap fill questions, and as we discussed in our previous sessions, gap fill questions are easy to answer. Even in the listening session of the IELTS test, they are easy to answer and less confusing compared with other types of questions. Okay, now let me turn on my pen and start answering this example. And I chose this example from reading passage 3 in order to show you that even in the passage 3, the table completion questions or gap fill questions could be easy to answer, and you should be happy when you see these types of questions. Okay, now let's start. The first thing we're going to do is to just look at the title. Reducing the effects of climate change. Okay, our passage is about climate change. Then let's go and look at our questions. Okay, we're gonna read our instructions carefully. Choose one word from the passage for each answer. So our word limit is one word, and you have to choose one word for each answer. And we have a table with a title, Geoengineering Project. The title is gonna help us to find the relevant part of the text, and also we're gonna choose keywords for two of our questions. And in the first column of our table, we have about procedure, and in the second part, aim. Okay, now let's read and choose our first keywords. Put a large number of tiny spacecraft into orbit far above Earth, and also spacecraft into to create something that would reduce the amount of light reaching Earth. Some people in table questions just read the question part of the table, but that's a fatal mistake. You need to read the two columns in order to be able to find the relevant part of the text. Okay, that's very important to read the two columns. Now let's go to next set of questions. Place something in the sea. Okay, sea. We're gonna look for something to place in the sea, and also in the second part for aim, to encourage something to form. Okay, now let's go back to our passage and look for geoengineering projects. In order to find the geoengineering project and title of our passage, it is very common that you would find it in a starting part of one of your paragraphs. So the first thing you should do is to just look at first sentence of each paragraph. Okay, now I'm going to look at paragraph A, such as our dependence on fossil fuels and such as the volume of carbon dioxide already released into the atmosphere. Okay, that's enough. Let's go to the next paragraph. And as you see, geoengineering has been shown to work. Okay, we're going to start answering our questions by looking from paragraph B. Okay, now let's continue and look for our keywords above Earth, reducing the light reaching Earth, and putting something in the sea, and encouraging something to form. Okay, now let's start. Again, just read by your eyes because it's a tutorial session. I'm reading it a lot. It's important. Some people have a habit of reading by their lips, and it would make them very slow, and that's very bad for your performance in the IELTS reading test. Just try, if you have at least a kind of habit, just try to leave it and practice at home, just reading by your eyes. Okay. At least on a small localized scale. For decades, May Day parades in Moscow have taken place under clear blue skies, aircraft having deposited dry ice. Silver, it's a chemical. I don't know the meaning of this word, so it doesn't matter, just skip it. You would come across lots of words you don't have any idea about them. You don't need to understand all of the words in the IELTS reading. Okay, now let's continue. And cement powder to disperse clouds. Many of these schemes now suggested look to do the opposite and reduced amount of sunlight reaching the planet. That was one of our keywords in the table. The most eye-catching idea of always suggested by Professor Roger Engel of University of Arizona. His scheme would employ up to 16 trillion minute spacecraft, each weighing about 1 gram. And we have again something about spacecraft. That's another one of our keys. To form, we have form it could be paraphrased with create transparent sunlight refracting sunshade in an orbit 1.5 million kilometers above Earth. We have above Earth, and this could argues Angel reduced amount of light reaching the Earth by 2%. And our answer is sunshade. We don't choose adjectives transparent and sunlight refracting sunshade. Our word limit is only one, and sunshade is our answer. Orbit far above Earth to create a sunshade that would reduce the amount of light reaching Earth. So that's our answer for question 30. Now let's go to our next slide. Okay, paragraph C. The majority of geoengineering projects so far carried out, which include planting forests in deserts and depositing iron. Okay, depositing iron in the ocean. Okay, we have ocean. We have to, let's go to our questions. Place something in the sea. And we have depositing iron in the ocean. And so iron is our answer for question 31. To stimulate the growth of algae. Again, we have stimulate growth of something. This is our answer for question 32. As you see, placing iron in the sea to encourage something to form, and these were actually easy to answer. Now let's go to next set of our questions. Release aerosol sprays into the stratosphere. Okay, we choose our keywords to create something again that would reduce the amount of light reaching Earth. I'm gonna look for aerosol sprays in the passage. Okay, let's go back and continue reading. I'm gonna just read by my eyes. Okay, and in the starting part of paragraph D, I have the concept of releasing aerosol sprays into the stratosphere above the Arctic has been proposed by several scientists. Okay, this would involve using sulfur or hydrogen sulfide aerosols so that sulfur dioxide would form clouds, which would in turn lead to a global dimming. Would form clouds. To create that would reduce the amount of light reaching the Earth. Dimming means reducing the light. If you know the meaning of this word, if your general English is in high level, you would understand this word instantly, and it would be in just a few seconds that you would be able to answer these questions. But if you don't know the meaning of dimming, again, it's not difficult to answer these questions because you can paraphrase the word form with create. Okay, so cloud is our answer for question 33. Now let's go to our questions and read the next round of our questions. Okay, question 34. Fix strong to Greenland ice sheets. We have Greenland ice sheets to prevent icebergs moving into the sea. Okay, plant trees in Russian Arctic that would lose their leaves in winter to allow the something to reflect radiation. Okay, now let's go back to paragraph D and continue finding the our keywords. Okay, we're gonna look for Greenland. Okay, I found Greenland and I'm gonna read around it carefully. Okay, now okay. Scientists have also scrutinized whether it's possible to preserve the ice sheets of Greenland with reinforced high-tension cables, preventing icebergs from moving into the sea. Preventing icebergs from moving into the sea, this is our aims, and we're going to do it by reinforced high-tension cables, and these are adjectives, and our answer is cables for question 34. Cables, fix strong cables to Greenland ice sheets. Okay, to prevent icebergs moving into the sea. Now let's go to the next one. To allow something to reflect radiation, it's about Russian Arctic and trees losing their leaves in the winter. Okay. And meanwhile, in Russian Arctic, geoengineering plans include the planting of millions of birch trees, whereas the region's native evergreen pines shade the snow and absorb radiation. Birches would shed their leaves in the winter. Okay, birches would shed their leaves in the winter, thus enabling radiation to be reflected by the snow. Okay, to be reflected by the snow to allow the snow to reflect radiation. So this is our answer for question 35. You can just transfer this answer to your answer sheet. Now let's go to our next question. Change the direction of something to bring more cold water into ice-forming areas. Okay, now let's continue. Rerouting Russian rivers to increase cold water flow ice-forming areas could also be used to slow down warming, say some climate scientists. Rerouting Russian rivers change their directions in order to increase cold water flow to ice-forming areas. And rivers is our answer for question 36. Okay, we answered all of our questions, and as you see, also I chose this reading passage from reading passage 3, and reading passage 3 is the most difficult one compared with the reading passage 2 and 1. Again, it wasn't very difficult to answer table completion questions and gap fill questions. So be happy when you see these questions because they are not challenging to answer. If your general English is good, you can just answer in these questions in shorter fractions of time than you'd expect to answer. Okay, and another important and interesting thing is that the answer of 4 of our questions were in just paragraph D, and in paragraph C we had our answer for questions 31 and 32, and questions 31 and 32 were actually very easy to answer. And again in this paragraph B we had geoengineering. In order to find our answer, we looked at the procedure, and our procedure was something about spacecraft, and the titles in the tables or diagrams will help you. Always read the title, and the first thing you need to do in order to find the relevant part of the text is to look for geo engineering projects. Okay, now let me turn off my pen. That's the end of first part of our 7th session. I hope it would be useful for you. If you like this video, please like it. And again, if you subscribe to my channel on YouTube, I would appreciate it. And if you have any questions, you can ask your questions in the comment section. I will answer all of your questions. See you in the next session. Goodbye.